Welcome to the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, and former therapist with a background in counseling psychology. This podcast is for strong, high-achieving women who want more in their lives and relationships, who are ready to rise to the next level of growth, healing, and evolution. Nothing changes until you change. And when you change, everything else changes around you as a result. If you're done with feeling powerless within the chaotic and toxic dynamics in your relationship and don't even know where to begin with making changes, I've got you covered. I know you've tried everything, including counseling, watching hours of videos, and reading stacks of books on narcissism, and find that all it does is leave you feeling even more stuck and in the same place. None of these things work when you're living with a narcissistic spouse because the root causes of the symptoms are not being addressed. As with physical health, there is an emotional, physical, spiritual, and psychological component to healing and overcoming the problematic symptoms and pain you're facing every day in your life and relationship. If you're ready for a direct, no fluff, no nonsense approach to take you into your personal power and take back your life, you are in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome back to the podcast, and in this episode, we're discussing victim mentality and how that is playing a part in the patterns that keep you stuck in unfulfilling, toxic dynamics in your relationship. And when I talk about this, and I have talked about this on Instagram or social media, but generally it's Instagram, is you will get all different women coming in the comments telling me I am victim blaming, which if you've been around here long enough, you know that I am about empowering you, not victim blaming you. So this is not what this podcast is about. So you'll have to sit on your triggers. If you are stuck in your victim mentality, this might trigger you. Because a lot of women are. The women that I end up working with, they may be stuck in some of those patternings, but they basically have a different kind of mindset. And maybe this is you, where you don't want to be seen as a victim, and you feel like when you're in that victim-y kind of energy, it feels gross. Like it just does. It feels ugly. It feels unattractive. It feels unsexy. It feels unpowerful, not powerful. It puts you in the powerlessness position. And I know for me, I never wanted to identify as a quote unquote victim. Like I've always told myself, like I am not a victim and I will overcome no matter what it is. No matter what it is, we can slip into self-pity and feeling sorry for ourselves. Of course, we're human. But what I've seen with the women in this community and the women I work with is that they are determined to rise above that kind of mentality. They want to find solutions. They want to rise to the next level. They want to elevate all areas of their life. They've already achieved really great things. So that's proof right there that they have that winner mindset. And you just get bogged down when you're in a relationship that is a heavy weight, that is dragging you down. And these smart, successful women that have achieved great things can still end up in a toxic relationship. And one of the things that I hear quite often from them is, I don't understand. I'm doing so good in my career. I have friends, I have great family, or what have you. And yet I don't understand why I can't get out of this situation or why I keep ending up in these relationships. So the first thing I want to say is that when we are already operating from a victim place, the victim energy, the victim stories that we're telling ourselves, we are a match then for abusive, controlling, manipulative men. So I can see in my past where that has come to play. I can see where I can slip into that, but I course correct. And this is the key, because self-pity, things like believing we are deserving of mistreatment, or that nobody will ever love us, that we're unlovable, or that we'll never be happy, these types of stories are victim consciousness. So I'm not intending to minimize what you've been through or what you're going through. Heck, if I shared everything that I've been through in my lifetime, you'd probably be shocked, right? Because you see me probably as a leader. I am an influencer in the social media space. I have this podcast. I've coached so many women. I'm a therapist, former therapist, not practicing as a therapist, but I've been through many, many different types of traumas in my lifetime and adversities. And so I'm not here to minimize what you're going through, to say that maybe you weren't victimized. Like as a child and children, we are victimized. If someone comes up to us and hits us over the head with a baseball bat, we are victimized. We don't have any control over that. I'm talking about the victim mentality. So if you go around believing you are these negative stories, then you will attract someone who's willing to take advantage of you, because it's the same energy, right? When we're talking about coming in with the same emotional level, you're at that level, so you're going to attract someone at that same emotional level who's going to go, oh, this victim needs a savior. Let me swoop in and manipulate them and get what I need out of them, because they already believe they're not good enough, so I can just get away with, bare minimum or whatever treatment, because they think they're not going to get anything better. And you probably know these stories. You probably told yourself these stories. Will I be able to find anything better? Should I just stay? What if I don't find something better? That is victim mentality. That is low self-worth. So you have to clean that shit up. Because if you walk around with that and you leave the relationship and you start dating and meeting other men, you're going to be a magnet for someone just like that once again. So you have to clean up your low self-worth stories and self-talk about, could I find better than this? What? Really? So this is something that I have heard from women. So, and there's no shame in this. I've been there too. But there's nothing worse than being in a day-to-day relationship with someone that is unhealthy and toxic. You can't have a healthy connection with them. They can't communicate properly. Everything is always twisted around and somehow everyone else's fault. Like, you can't have a healthy relationship with someone like that is so manipulative and so controlling. And remember, like, manipulation is control. So how you're being manipulated every day is control. You might say, no, he's not controlling. I'm allowed to do whatever I want. I come and go as I please. But there is manipulation and there is control in these relationships. And so when you have low self-worth and you think, maybe I can't get better than this, maybe this is as good as it gets, that is you in victim mentality. So what I'm aiming to do with this episode is really elevate how you see yourself, how you see your life circumstances, and if you can see solutions to the challenges that you're facing, because it can be difficult. You have your head down. If you're like me, you're an entrepreneur, so you're juggling all kinds of things I'm having a corporation, so I'm juggling a lot of things. I'm wearing a lot of hats. I'm doing a lot of stuff, raising kids, a household, like all the things, my health, relationships, friendships, all of it, right? And trying to maintain that balance, it takes conscious effort. And when there has been adversities and challenges that come up, I look for solutions. I'm determined. I am not somebody that's going to lay down and say, all right, life, like this label diagnosis, this divorce, this single parenting, this financial issue, this whatever. I just lay down and take it and say, life is just not fair to me. Life is just never ending problems. That will just attract more of the problems. So instead, when we have this achiever mindset, where we have a expanded consciousness mindset, we are like, okay, so I've got this in front of me. The facts are this. Now what? Like, what are the solutions? But when you have your head down and you're not, you don't even have the bandwidth to even look up to figure out your solutions, right? That's when you just kind of stay stuck spinning in the same situation. So this reminds me of a client of mine. She basically left her situation and built her own damn house to get away from it, right? When she told me this, I was just blown away. I'm like, holy shit, woman, like, talk about badass, right? The shit that we are capable of doing, right? And even if you don't, maybe you don't have the means to go build your own house, right? But you are capable of changing your life. You can do it. Like, you can do it. And it's a matter of having the determination. And yes, sometimes you need a coach to help lift you up, to kind of give you those reminders that you need when you're in your shit, right? Because we all can go there, no matter how successful we've been in areas of our life, we can still end up going into the shit pit that I call it. So sorry about the dogs upstairs. I'm just going to keep going. So I see it that there are some people who can go through many adversities and yet they keep going. They continue to get back up when they're taken down. And they have a comeback power that others don't necessarily have. I'm not here to say that everyone is the same. There are some people that do succumb to victim mentality. They don't change their lives. They get sicker and sicker and sicker. Their life falls apart. It's a downward spiral because they're not able to pull themselves out of that, or to have the wherewithal to, invest in help and actually like get their lives in order. There are some people that will stay stuck. And this isn't really for those people. That's not who I'm talking to. I'm talking to those of you that have that. You understand that, you are the creator of your life. So whatever situation that you're in, yes, you've created it. And that sucks, right? When it's not good, right? When it's a creation that we don't like. We have to see how we ended up in that. And I see it as when we are a victim within ourselves, we will be a match for people who want to, quote unquote, victimize us, right? We have to see ourselves as empowered. We have to see ourselves as badass. Like, I'm not going to tolerate any shit. Like, there is nothing that I will tolerate anymore. Like, I have zero tolerance for nonsense and anything that's going to disrupt the peace that I've created and the harmony and the well-being. I now know what it's like if someone was going to try and mess with that, and it just wouldn't even settle into me for a day, like a moment. So you have to be able to get to that place where if you are around something that feels disrespectful, or you're around something that feels ick, right? That you're not going to tolerate that. Relationships are not perfect, but you need to be able to express where you are not liking something and have someone be receptive to that. You need a man that can communicate with you like a fucking adult instead of turning it around into this chaotic shitstorm because you're trying to raise a topic about something they did, right? It's absolute insanity. And once you've been through that and you've healed through that and you've healed through the, how it's serving you in some way, right? How you have chosen that pattern to try and heal something from your past. When you see it for what it is, you will not tolerate that. You will know what that feels like. Again, to have anyone just mess with your mind, even in the slightest, it's like, hell no. So you have to be able to pull up that power within yourself. It does come down to nature versus nurture, by the way, and some people who have had serious traumas and abuse in their lives can develop something called learned helplessness. So I see this as an extreme. This is actually a diagnostic label. Like, it is something that you can be diagnosed with if it's in its extreme forms as a mental health condition. But it's an extreme dependence on others, and learned helplessness occurs when somebody is repeatedly subjected to adverse stimulus that it cannot escape. So that is really, this is trauma. This is also trauma mentality. Right? This is where it comes from. And so we have to see, like, where are you feeling like you can't escape? Because it's a lie. It's not true. There's nobody that is locking you down that you can't leave your house. You're not trapped, but the dynamic has left you feeling that way. And you're in victim consciousness, right? So you will never be able to rise out of anything from that belief that you are stuck and you can't escape. When we feel that we have no control over our situation, we may begin to behave in a helpless manner as well. So when you feel and believe that you have no control, you start to act like someone that is helpless. And how the hell are you ever going to change from that, right? So, and then this inaction can also lead to some of us to overlook opportunities for relief or change, right? And strong, successful, powerful women can still get into these mindsets. I was there. All right. So I'm not here to say that we don't have times where we're in the shit. The difference is we see it and we're like, oh my God, like this is wow. What is happening here? I need to get my shit together. We're able to see when we're in it and be like, I need help. I need outside perspective. I need to hire someone. Like, I need to do something because I cannot tolerate living in this state, right? So some of the causes of learned helplessness is childhood abuse and neglect, domestic violence, trauma. And the good news around this is that it can be unlearned through various strategies that don't necessarily require wasting months in talk therapy, right? A lot of it has to do with, yes, we see where it comes from, we see the connection from the past, but then we also have to move into action mode, doing new things, taking new steps that may be scary as hell, but you continue to take them. So with permission, I'm sharing just a little clip of a story of a client that I'm coaching right now. And she gave me permission to share this story, obviously anonymously. I don't share my clients' identities, but I was coaching her and she mentioned like she's the breadwinner, she's wealthy, she's made, she makes a lot of money, and her ex, they're going through a divorce, and I don't know, I think he doesn't earn any of his own money, or she basically is supporting him. And she had left him open access to her bank account when they're separated. Like lots of money in the bank account. And I literally was like, oh my God, okay, we need to do something about this. And so when I was coaching her on that, like this is like a badass, successful woman. Like she's amazing. And she was afraid to cut him off because of how he might react. Successful, wealthy woman that is fully capable of doing just about anything that she needs to do to take care of herself and her kids, was afraid to cut her ex off of the supply of her bank account. So this is what I'm saying. We can all go into this place, but this is where we have to like have outside perspective to shake us awake. Like, holy shit, yeah, you're right. I'm scared of his reaction when I'm not actually scared of what he could do with open access to my funds, right? So, and again, I got permission from her to share that little bit. I never share personal client stories without permission, but she said, yeah, if you share it and help women, from my experience, please do. So this is what the power of the collective has with women that are going through this and that are in the shit. They're in the trenches, and I'm in that with them to help them rise above it, right? Because this is brutal work. It just is. There is no shortcut, but when you have support from a coach that can help you get out of this spinning and out of these mental cyclones that we get into, it makes a huge difference. And someone to kind of hold your hand and say, okay, so here's your action steps. Here's what I recommend, what out of this feels right to you. And then I want you to Voxer me when you're done that step so I can cheer you on, right? You have someone in your corner. And that's what I do with my one-on-ones. So if you're interested in checking that out, I'll leave the link in the show notes for how you can work with me privately. So in this situation, what needs to happen is, first of all, awareness of the problem, yes. And then it's moving into a willingness and a commitment to change. You just have to be willing. I am willing to change. I'm willing to see the patterns within me that are creating these conditions, this repetitive pattern. I'm willing to change. I'm willing to see, why does this thing keep showing up? I obviously have not learned the full lessons in this because it keeps showing up, or it just keeps becoming the same thing. We cannot change, heal, grow, or transform, and we can't evolve our lives from that victim place. So we have to be able to rise above it. And the victim place is fear. Like, it could be irrational fear. I'm afraid to set a boundary with my spouse. I'm afraid to go out and do what I want to do because when I come home, I'm going to hear comments or sarcasm or sarcastic murmurs and like whatever blah, blah, blah stuff, right? I'm afraid of that. Why? You have to look at your fears and see, are they rational or are they irrational? What is my fear? And our fear usually is like, if you keep going down into the layers of fear are, number one, I'm going to be all alone. I'll be abandoned, or I'm going to die. Like our survival, that's our survival mechanism, right? Is I don't want to be alone, because if I'm alone, I'm unsafe, right? When it was in the hunter-gatherer days, someone that was alone was less likely to survive, right? And so that's what triggers our survival instinct of like, I can't be alone. And if I'm alone, then I could die. So it comes down, if you were to go looking at the fear, look at the fear and then say, why is that scary? Why am I afraid of that? And if that thing happened, then what? And then what? And you keep digging down, and then it comes down to like, I'm not going to survive, right? And that is our basic instinct. We obviously want to survive. So this is kind of a mishmash episode. I just really wanted to talk about how important it is to get out of victim mentality, to realize when you're in it, to see when you're in it. And you might not be able to see on your own that you're in it. But I can tell you, when you're in it, nothing's going to change. This is when you're going to notice everything around you. You think you're doing all these things, but it's not changing what's actually happening. It's not changing your life. You're still in the same pattern. And we know that we're in it when we feel like we are powerless to change our situation, that we are trapped, that we have no way out. And that is a lie. It's a lie. There could be, and I've heard all kinds of scenarios from women. Well, what about this? And I have this and I can't leave because of this. They're all stories, because the truth is, really, you could pack a bag and fly out the door with your kids and be gone, right? Could there be repercussions from that legally? Sure. There's all these different things we could say, yeah, maybe that's not, and I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying, like, it's a lie to say I have no way out, because you do. It's just you don't like the options, or you don't think that you can handle the options. You don't believe that you can overcome it. You don't believe that you're strong enough or that you'll be able to do it on your own. So it comes down to those beliefs of victim mentality beliefs. Those are victim mentality beliefs, by the way. So we need to uncover where we are in our victim and pull ourselves into, okay, empowerment. What can I do in this scenario? What are the different options that I have, even though I can't see them right now? And maybe it's just that I don't like any of them, right? I don't like the options. They're scary. It's unpredictable. I don't know what to expect. I don't know how he'll react. I don't know if I will be able to handle it. Will I be able to make it on the other side? And you can stay in that for decades. So if you'd like some mentoring on how to actually move through these victim mindsets and move into your empowerment, move into elevating your life, move into actually making changes, then I invite you to check out my coaching. And the link is in the show notes. So I hope that this is helpful, and that maybe you've had an aha moment in here, that maybe you are stuck in some victim thinking patterns, and it's on you to pull your way out. Nobody else is going to do that for you. You can have support, you can have the bestest of friends, but you are the one ultimately that has to dig yourself out of the pit and be able to look around and see what are all the possibilities that are actually available to you. And no one else can do that work for you, unfortunately. So this is why I'm saying it takes that inner strength to be able to pull yourself through, and you can do that. If you are here listening to this podcast, you're a regular listener, you're in my community, then I already know you are someone that wants to grow. You want to change, you want to transform, and you understand that the work starts with you, that it's within you, that you have to look. So you've already got that within you if you're in my audience. It's just a matter of drawing from it and actually moving through the mental blocks, moving through the fear blocks, moving through the beliefs that are keeping you stuck, feeling like you're stuck, but it's a lie. All right, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in to this edition of the Awakening Women podcast. If you love this episode, please take a moment to share it and leave a 5-star rating and review. If you're ready to take your next step, head to the link in the show notes to sign up for my latest free class. Also, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Awakening Women Official and join the conversation. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you again in the next episode. Take care of yourself in the meantime, and I'll see you online.